There was a time when resources seemed endless. But in 2030, the great energy crisis began. With hardly any resources left on our world, global powers created the World Space Agency to look beyond the Earth for answers. The answer was found in helium-3, a powerful isotope discovered in abundance on the Moon. With it, humanity could satisfy its energy demand for decades to come. And so, in 2032, mankind colonized the Moon. Spearheaded by the Lunar Council, the WSA constructed several permanent settlements to harvest and process helium-3. The resulting energy was transferred to Earth through a revolutionary energy network, the Microwave Power Transmission, or MPT. For a time, all seemed well. Then, one fateful night in 2054, the lights went out. No energy. The MPT had gone offline, and communication with the lunar colonist was lost. Without earthly resources to launch a full-scale rescue mission to the Moon, the World Space Agency was shut down permanently in 2055. But a small group of former WSA colonists refused to accept humanity's bleak future. Determined to discover the colony's fate and to restore the MPT, they've been preparing their mission in an abandoned desert launch facility. Now, in 2059, they are ready to launch an astronaut to the Moon. What awaits is unknown and unforeseeable, but the mission is clear. Deliver us the Moon.
Indestructible Gaming. Choose your character. Musketshot. Mr. K. Let the review begin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Indestructible Gaming. Today, we are going to the moon with me, Mr. K, and my co-host, Musketshot. What's up? How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. And we're about to go to space.
All right. I got my moon underwear on.
Ah, nice. Today. So, before we get into the game itself, we would like to talk about the developer for this.
Sure. Yeah. Kyoken Interactive. They are located in the Netherlands. And this is a little bit of information about them off their website. The company was started by Cohen Dietman. And at 14 years old, he decided to start up a clan within the Soldier of Fortune 2 community. Competing as Kyoken, there's the name of the developing company. He and his clan, Vidoc, were eager to prove themselves in the game's international rankings. So hard work paid off when he reached the number one spot years later. And although the clan completed its objectives and dissolved into communities, Cohen decided to stay in the gaming industry, started studying computer science, and inevitably he started his own game company as a sole proprietorship, joined by his brother and best friend. The studio grew and evolved into a solid studio. So that's off their website. They do have a mascot on their website. It's a little penguin, and penguin's name is Pingy, and that's their official mascot. And has been with Cohen since he was 4 years old, so a very important part of his life. The publisher of this game is Wired Productions, and Wired Productions was the ones that gave us the permission to use that introduction you heard at the beginning prior to our intro podcast song.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep. They're located in Watford, UK, and they've published games like Those Who Remain, The Town of Light, Victor Vran, Overkill Edition, and of course, Deliver Us the Moon. And they do have some other games that they publish, but there's a lot of games on there. I didn't write all of them down. I thought I'd just give you a few of the ones that I sort of recognized. This game is available on Xbox One Game Pass, which is what we played it on, PS4, Switch, and PC. It's rated T, so that's basically all the information about the publisher and developer. in a little bit about the game, but now going into the plot of the game. So, Mr. K, you want to give the plot?
So the main plot is basically they wanted to colonize the moon so that Earth would gain more resources from it by building the MPT, a microwave powder transmission. Has nothing to do with an actual microwave. Nothing at all. Don't get it confused.
Don't put popcorn in it.
That would be a major uh-oh. But basically, at one point, it all went out of nowhere, out of the blue, pitch darkness. And Earth kind of fell from there. It got all like a desolate wasteland, all rocky and kind of like a Mad Max kind of way, if you think about it. Sandstorms, all has that orange hue to it, desolate, like a wasteland.
Yeah.
And your mission is to go back to the moon to check out what happened, how this interruption started, and your goal is to deliver them the moon. Not literally. We're not Amazon packaging it over.
No. We're not UPSing it to them. We're not sticking a rocket on the other side of it and shoving it back and shooting it to the Earth. Just delivering the resources back to the Earth, basically.
By a giant cannon with a laser at it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is supposed to take place, I believe, in 2059, the year 2059. So it's not too far away, folks. But it's a lot of what takes place in the game. There's a lot of audio information that you'll be getting in the game, and a lot of that and stuff that you read, and a lot of that takes place 5 years prior.
Some of the stuff
some of it might be older. It's hard to tell some of it, but
they jump around.
Yeah. So that's basically the gist of the game. You're basically the last astronaut that they can send up there. You basically have to shoot yourself off, basically, as a rocket, because there's a space station that you start off at, but there's nobody there. It's an empty, desolate space station.
The one thing you probably will notice as you start the game is that it transitions from first person to third person, which is pretty interesting.
Third person to first.
Yeah. It was first person to third, because you start out getting out of your room.
And now right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right. That's right. Yeah, it does. It does transition quite a bit. I forgot about that part. Oh my God.
It transitions a lot, and that's one of its key factors. Yeah, I think it builds character too, because not only do you get to see him do these things, you get to be him as well when he does at times.
Right. Yes.
So it makes you feel like you are the astronaut. I mean, that's a really loose thing to say.
Yeah.
Because that can go for a lot of games like that.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And there's nobody else to help you. It's just you in the game being the astronaut. There's no other characters that are gonna assist you. I mean, there are characters that talk to you over a comm system, a voice communication system, but that's pretty much it, right?
But since you go to Earth, since you go to the moon, it basically phases them out of it. Because they can't connect to you since there's no power on the moon in the first place.
Right. Now, the introduction I thought was a pretty good and powerful introduction. Do you feel the introduction drew you into the game like it did for me?
It did. I would say it did. It had a very desolate hope kind of deal.
Yeah. Where
you're stranded and you got to do this one thing to save humanity pretty much. So you feel like you're the last hope of humanity.
Yeah.
And it kind of builds around that as you go into the rocket and head off. And you know that you're probably thinking, oh, I'm going to die, but it's all for a good cause and I'm ready.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, I thought the intro was good because it really sets up the game well and gets you kind of psyched up to play the game. And it's kind of reminds me of like the first 15 minutes of a really good action movie where there's a lot of action. You're like, wow, all right, this is going to be awesome. Or the first chapter of a book that really draws you in. And you're like, wow, this is going to be a great book. So I think the introduction, I think they did a really good job with the introduction. It was one of the reasons why we asked if we could play the introduction too. So that was one of the things we really liked about the game. And like you mentioned, the gameplay going from third person to first person a lot is kind of different. I'm not sure if it's unique. I'm sure there's other games that do this often. I don't know. Can you think of a game that you've played recently that does this a lot?
I don't think I can at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I could probably think of more if you gave me time to look around, but
Yeah.
at the moment, nah.
Still
pretty cool though.
Yeah. Did you like it that way? Did you like going from third to first person and back and forth?
Yeah, because they didn't. The reason why I liked it was because they didn't really force it. They didn't when they really wanted to for like a cool effect or to show something that you would normally wouldn't see,
mm-hmm.
or to make you feel like you're the astronaut.
Right.
Yeah, I thought going from third person to first person and back again was pretty cool. It made it a lot more cinematic, I would say.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's cool seeing the character that you are doing it their thing, or you doing it yourself,
mm-hmm.
which is a really cool thing to see. And
right.
I can't think of a lot of games off the top of my head that do that, but there's probably a couple out there that probably do the same.
Yeah.
That I just can't think of at the moment.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I thought was pretty tough was you get to experience zero gravity when you're on the space station.
Zero gravity was a weird mechanic.
Yes.
But I thought it was pretty. I've never been to space.
No.
But I feel like if I was, it'd be pretty close to that, except I'd be crying, help me, over again, and probably my eyes would be tearing in zero gravity, which probably hurt a lot.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think the maneuvering of the character in what's supposed to be zero gravity was probably very close to what it would be like.
If you look back at like the old videos of them actually moving around, and it's pretty real. Like they do the little rolls in midair, and that's what your character can do. They can do a full 360.
Yeah. No
problem. You can just float there. You can go around. It's pretty cool. The physics.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things I think that were kind of interactive in the game too, that were just floating around as would happen in a space station where there's zero gravity. There's boxes floating around. There's equipment floating around.
And you can knock into these things and just straight up move them out of your way. Right.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They're kind of interactive.
Yeah. It's a really cool detail to put in.
Yeah. Do you think, now I was thinking this for playing this, I was like, boy, I wonder if if you're a person who suffers from motion sickness, do you think that this game would affect them with that part of the game?
I think it would matter on what the person does.
Yeah.
Because it really matters in because you can move at whatever pace you want, really.
Mm. Well, depending on if it's being timed or not, but yeah.
I mean, there weren't many times where you are timed and you go in a first person and do zero gravity. And I'll be honest right now, the only time you do zero gravity is like a level before you actually go to the moon. Mm-hmm. So that'd be the only time you actually do it. So once that passes and you're on the moon, no more of that. So you wouldn't have to get worried about getting sick of it, which is pretty cool to see. So it changes how it works. Yeah. And they introduce new concepts through the next levels and such. They don't keep it the same. They have original stuff go every second.
The atmosphere of the game, did you find it like, it's labeled as like a sci-fi thriller? I've seen somebody write it kind of has a horror game kind of feel, and I was like, well, I don't know about horror game. But...
Nah, I wouldn't call it a horror. Maybe a thriller. Yeah, because you don't know what happened or why. Right, you're just kind of there in an abandoned ship.
Yeah, and you're kind of waiting for something to happen to you.
Like there's no specific
like an alien. You're almost waiting for an alien to pop out somewhere, but
there's no specific thing to scare you or jump scare you in any way. Right. It's just there they call it a thriller because I think they just wanted to go for that kind of environment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they did. It kind of reminded me if anyone's ever played BioShock.
Oh, okay.
That's a game where basically you go into like an underwater city and your whole idea is to kind of survive. And that was more horror based.
Mm-hmm.
But if you basically took out the enemies of that game and just kept it completely empty, it would probably aim for the same deal as Deliver Us the Moon is going for.
Yeah.
Because it's empty, it's desolate. It was thriving at one point. Now it isn't. It drives to that creepiness, but enough so that you can feel comfortable while doing it.
Yeah.
BioShock did not do that. BioShock had blood on the walls everywhere. And crazed maniacs trying to kill you. But other than that.
Yeah.
But I can see comparisons with the two.
Yeah.
Except the ones in space.
Right.
But yeah, they went for a really, either that or if you really think about it, Dead Space, I think everyone's played that as well. I mean, yeah, they had a lot of blood and a lot of enemies too, but it was also empty.
Yeah.
And you were trying to figure out what's going on. And both of them, BioShock, I think BioShock had the most. I don't think Dead Space actually had any, but BioShock had audio logs and papers you can read. Kind of like how Deliver Us to the Moon did it. I mean, Deliver Us the Moon did it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of different things you can read in Deliver Us the Moon, between emails and audio files and newspapers or articles and stuff like that. So you do pick up a lot of the information as you go along throughout the game in the different levels about the storyline. What'd you think of the graphics? I love the graphics. I thought they were really good.
I like the graphics. I don't know if it was because of my Xbox that it hasn't been upgraded. It's only an original, like the original Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
But it was stuttery a little bit.
Oh, really? Okay.
But every once in a while. But that's only because I think it's just Unity, because Unity has that kind of deal with it.
Okay.
Like it could run games that would look amazing, but like once in a while to have that kind of issue. It's just come to expect.
Mm-hmm.
But there wasn't specifically any time it made me frustrated or angry with that issue.
Yeah.
I was kind of cool with it the whole time, though. I mean, the graphics were amazing. That was what kept me going. The graphics, I mean, the story did as well in the gameplay, but
yeah,
graphics were a major part because it made it feel like you're going to the moon.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely everything from like trying to dock your space shuttle to the space station to just floating around in the space station to taking off in the space shuttle was pretty cool. I think the graphics, they did a really good job. Nothing looked boxy or, kind of half-assed. They did it. I think everything, they really took a lot of time and effort to make everything look like it was part of the atmosphere in the game, part of the terrain or the stuff that you would normally see at a space station or at a launch facility or what you might see on the moon or something like that. So I think they did a lot of work on that. So that was really cool. So did you think the story was compelling to you
Yeah, at first I wasn't really big into the story. I was more lost than anything.
Yeah.
But that's what I think the developers did because it makes sense. They throw you into the deep end, so you have to read these stuff. You'd have to read the stuff and listen and watch it for yourself.
Yeah.
And kind of make the story up on your own.
Right.
Because you're trying to figure out how it was caused and why it was caused. And that's exactly what you're doing. Except you're not giving it straight in front of you. And I think I like games that do that.
Yeah.
You have to figure it out on your own. Unless it's too confusing at that point, then I would kind of complain. But this is perfect. I liked how they did it. It's nice pacing.
Yeah, there was a lot of different things that they kind of threw around in different areas where you'd pick it up and read. And some of it was more, it seemed like just, quick little information that I felt like it didn't really help me in understanding the story, but then other stuff did. So I think there was a good mix though of everything though, of what they had. And I think the audio files you listen to definitely have a very ominous feel to them.
Oh yeah.
You really can sense the stress and concern
Especially
when listening to them.
Especially when you see the holograms your ASC can show you.
Yeah.
When you get your ASC, which is basically a robot. Gameplay is your traditional kind of go around, check what's around. You don't expect like, oh, I got a gun, I gotta shoot everything in here. No, none of that. Which isn't a bad thing. It's more story based than anything. And basically what you would do is complete puzzles, move things around to make sure you go to the next area. Maybe grab some air in those situations where time is locked on you, which happens every once in a while, not too much to annoy you. So it's a good thing. You have your ASC, which is basically like a little robot companion you'd have. And now you're actually able to control that on the fly and fly it around and such. The main purpose of it is to open doors with special locks on it that you can't open yourself, that only ASCs can. ASCs can also do special things in the story that will progress you further. And it could also show you holograms, which as we said, you can find out more about the story and what's been going on. Another thing about it has a flashlight. So that's always good if it's dark. Mm-hmm. You also have a flashlight as your character, but
did you find any of the timed events like exciting, or some of them are like you got like 2 minutes of air and you got to do these things.
Some of them were good, while some of them were just kind of felt like little annoyances, or they're just kind of put there to fill up the gap, like between like a cutscene.
Okay.
Like there was one where you're on I wouldn't say a railroad, but you're driving a shuttle and you're going from one place to another, and they quickly say, oh, there's blocks ahead. And now I was sitting there like, all right, cool. There's going to be something in my way. I'm going to be ready to press the buttons. And then it comes up and I press it, but it takes as a little too late and I die anyways.
Yeah.
And I had to repeat that at least 3 times because I didn't know the button combinations at the right time.
Okay.
So by the time I did notice the button that I had to press, I was already dead.
Yeah.
They could have brought that up a little earlier instead of the last second.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't get to that part, so I don't know exactly what you're talking about on that, but
there's a part where you're going through space and you have to grab like some air.
Yeah. Some oxygen pellet. They almost look like oxygen pills, but really, really big.
Like oxygen canisters, I guess.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Easiest way to say it. But basically, you'd be going through space and you have a time limit as your air is depleting. And you have to grab them before you reach 0. And sometimes those are hard to see.
Right.
So you might just go right by one and die because of it, because they're very crucial to get all of them.
Yeah.
They try to lead you, but sometimes you may go astray because you just didn't see that one canister.
Yeah.
And that happened to me at least, I don't know, 3 times. It does, like I said, stuff like that doesn't happen much.
Right.
There's not a lot of times where you're dying of oxygen.
Yeah.
Depletion.
Thankfully, they don't do that often. That is good because I don't know how many times there was times where I was like getting stressed. Like, oh my God, I got 15 seconds left. And trying to find another oxygen tank thing to get in. So, yeah. I thought it was pretty cool on the moon how they didn't use like any music or anything. It was like just dead silence.
Yeah, the moon's pretty cool. I like how you can, when you jump, it does like what you would see if someone jumped on the moon.
Yeah.
It gives that floaty feeling.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, it's the moon, so you're going to be losing oxygen.
Yeah.
But you have a vehicle at that point you can drive around in, which you can go in and it would just give you all the air you need, and you'll be pretty much set, and you can go back out and do whatever. There's nothing to do on the moon, sadly, other than go to the areas and do what you have to do. But other than that, it's still pretty cool to be on it in the first place. Not a lot of games do that, surprisingly. There's a good amount of them, but none of them let you like actually explore the moon, I guess, to a point.
Yeah, I don't know what they could have done differently with that.
It was just cool still to just be able to walk on the moon.
Yeah.
Without any, of course, there's limitations. Like there's going to be like walls, like invisible walls that block you. Right. Or it will say something like, "Oh, go back to where you came." Yeah. Or you'll be respawned or something like that. But other than that, there wasn't. You could walk around freely as long as you didn't hit those walls. So it was pretty cool though. Because the moon wasn't like, because some games they make the moon just flat, like not flat, but I mean like a flat surface. This one makes like crevices and not holes, but like
the craters
size chunks.
Like that. Yeah.
And it makes you feel like you're actually on it, like on a piece of it. It's cool.
Yeah, I think they did it was a pretty good representation of what you would think the moon would really look like. Yeah. Just the design of the surface, I think, was pretty cool. Like you said, it wasn't just like a flat surface that just goes on forever. That there's a lot of like craters and hills and stuff like that. So it's probably pretty close to what it would look like. And I'm sure the developers probably took a look at actual pictures or footage of the moon and probably used that for the gameplay. So was there anything you'd like to have seen in the game that they didn't do, or maybe change the story wise, change the story for something different, or maybe the gameplay?
I would like to see, I can imagine them doing like an actual horror experience pretty well, because if they do the pacing as they did with this one, I can see them doing a pretty legit horror game.
Like maybe, a space one?
Just in general. In general. Just a space one would be actually kind of cool because not a lot of people do that. Yeah. Alien, of course, but that's a movie franchise.
Could do like a horror space theme where you have zero gravity parts and stuff like that. Try to escape in zero gravity.
It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah.
The one problem I did have with it is that the point where you're on the moon in the car, it causes your controller to vibrate so much.
Oh, yeah. That happened to me a couple times, and I thought at one point my controller was actually.
I had to take out the batteries
or something. Yeah, I took out the batteries at one point because it wouldn't stop.
I just thought it was the car, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm going crazy. But since you said that, it may just been in general. I just haven't noticed.
Yes,
because I'm like, I stopped the car entirely. I put it pretty much in park. Why is it vibrating so violently? Yeah. Like I felt like it was depleting my batteries as I was thinking that.
Yeah.
Like I thought like 30 minutes later, I'm like, is it just gonna tell me my batteries are close to dead?
Yeah, I'm not even sure what that was or what the purpose of that was. I'm not sure, but it does do that a number of times in the game. And there was one time where my controller, I swear to God, I think it was literally shaking. Yeah. And shaking for like 30 seconds or more. And I finally just ripped the back off and unplugged and pulled the batteries out and it stopped. And I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know what was going on. I was like, maybe the batteries just went or something. And when I put them back in, it was fine. But
I don't know if it was the game on the Xbox or if it's the same for every other version. Right. If it does, we definitely like to hear.
Right. Yeah.
We like to hear if it's a problem for everyone else, because we like the developers to know and just maybe fix that maybe.
Yeah.
At some point. It's not a major issue. It's just something they could fix.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be fixed, but it'd be nice if they did.
Yeah. If it's happening on PS4 and Switch, maybe there's a reason for it. I don't know. Like I said, maybe there's
an error in the code or something.
Yeah, who knows? It could be anything, I guess, right?
Like I said, it's not a big deal. It's just something, to say.
Yeah, it's just something that was weird and kind of shocked me.
It was, yeah, I thought my controller got possessed at one point. I swear.
Right?
Had to say some ancient texts.
Yeah. So do you think this has a lot of replayability, this game? I'm not sure if it does.
Games that you come back to after a couple of years.
Yeah, I don't think it's
that
something
you'd play automatically again or something you would play never.
Yeah.
It's something you would play, like, I don't know, like every couple of years, or like one of those games that you would see in the future and be like, oh yeah, I remember this. This is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I should play it again. You know?
Right. Yeah, it's not like you're gonna finish this game and go, all right, you know what? I'm gonna replay it again. You probably won't do that, but you will definitely replay it at some point. It isn't something that is. I don't think it's a one and done type of game.
Unless you're not that interested in it, then maybe it will be.
Right.
If you don't like how it ended or anything, you may not come back to it. It's a possibility, but
yeah,
who knows? You may have liked it.
Yeah,
I liked it. I wouldn't mind playing through it again at some point.
Yep.
Only except for one part, and Musketshot over here has experienced that one part, and I hated it. I didn't want to talk about it until we got to that point. And
yeah.
So would you want to explain what that part is?
There's one part where you have to open up these, I don't know, they look like shelving type units with steering wheels on them. You have to open them up. And the first one is super easy to grab what is it? It
was a power canister, I'm pretty sure. You had to put it in the slots of the others.
So the first one you grab, super easy. There's nothing there. You just grab it, put it in the machine. Go open up the second one. The second one, you gotta use your laser cannon basically.
Oh, we didn't say that, did we?
No, we didn't talk about the laser thing, which is pretty cool.
We can talk about it after.
There's a laser, kind of like a laser gun on your wrist that you can shoot and shoot off locks or hinges and stuff like that. And a lot of those things are glowing yellow, so you kind of know which ones you can shoot at and which way you can't. And you can't use it for anything else other than that, right? There's nothing else in the game that you can use it
only
for.
The things that are kind of like orange.
Or glowing in yellow or something like that.
Yeah. It's kind of, sometimes it's hard to decide on which one's what.
Right.
It's kind of like on the fly, like you kind of know it, but sometimes you may mistake yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
Like at one point I looked at a door and I'm like, oh, that has orange on it. I can light that up. And then I found out it was just part of the door. It had no significance of any kind.
Right. Yeah. So that's the second cabinet you open up and you have these things you got to shoot with the laser. You do that. It gives you a little bit more room to go into the cabinet because there's these bars in there and you kind of have to go over the bars and down underneath and down and grab the canister.
Like an obstacle course, but it's not that long whatsoever.
Right. You get up and go out and put the canister into the machine. And then you go to the third one, you open it up and all of a sudden it's just like everything is electrified inside. And I've probably have done that part now like 30 times and I'm just struggling past it.
The second part is that's like it's not even close to the middle of the game yet.
Right. And so I'll share some of my gameplay of that part online on Twitter or Facebook on our Facebook page or Twitter page to show you what I mean.
It would have.
That's probably the most frustrating I've ever been with a game.
That was the most frustrating part from the game, I think, in general.
Yeah.
It was just unnecessarily frustrating. And I think what made that possible is because it was electrocuted. It kind of lagged the game because there's so many poles that were electrocuted. So it made it hard to navigate a little bit.
Well, you can't. The biggest problem is this part is when you're in first person.
Yeah.
So you can't really judge or tell like how close you are to them.
Well, I mean, if it was in third person, it'd probably be harder because the bar would be covering your character.
Right. You wouldn't see.
So it makes sense why they do it, but it still makes it difficult.
It still makes it really difficult. And it's funny because I've watched the video of walkthrough gameplay where somebody did it. I don't know who did the gameplay walkthrough it, but they were really good. Obviously, they did it in like one shot, boom, 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 over it. And I was like, okay, how did they do that so quickly? And I must have watched that 3 or 4 times, and I was like, okay, I'm not doing anything different. Why am I still getting hit with this? It's really, really frustrating. I've tried a bunch of different ways. Like I said, I'll try throwing video of my gameplay of what I'm doing. And who knows, maybe somebody can look at it and go, hey, Musketshot, you're doing it. You should do this instead. Try this. Because it would be really helpful to me, because I would really like to continue playing the game. A lot of the stuff what I've commented on tonight has been stuff that I have played on the game. And then there's a few things I've watched in the coming parts of the game afterwards, just to kind of see what else I have to do afterwards once I get past that part. But it's really frustrating, and like I said, it's probably the most frustrated I've been with a game in a long time. So I'm disappointed with that. But any last final things that you want to say about the game? Do you want to give your final impression of the game?
I thought Deliver Us the Moon was an atmospheric game with slightly thriller experiences, I guess. Nothing to really shatter your spine, but to more make you feel uncomfortable in the world, because you don't know what's going on or how it happened, with the mystery going around. The atmosphere, like I said, was good. Music was interstellar. Hope you guys liked that. That was
Interstellar. That
was a pretty good joke, I think.
Is there a soundtrack that I can listen to that Interstellar? I think there is actually a soundtrack that they have on
There
Steam.
is a soundtrack.
On Steam, right?
All the music sounds like it's orchestrated, which is pretty good to hear from a space game. But this is like full on orchestrated. It's like violins and guitars, and I don't know. I don't know what else they use, honestly, but the game was orchestrated and it was good.
Yeah.
It sounded very nice, and it fit the overall atmosphere, and I think it helped the game. Gameplay-wise, it was enjoyable, nothing too frustrating or angry.
That says you.
Nothing too bad. It's pretty fun. Move things around, make things go down and break some other stuff maybe. Go around with your little bot, discover new things from the story. Your casual game. It's pretty fun, though, overall. I think I would give it a 8.5. Sounds pretty good to me.
Ooh, very good. I'm not going to really give much of a impression on this, only because I haven't gotten as far as I wanted to get in this game to really give it a score or anything like that. Like I said, that one part I get stuck on is frustrating. But other than that, I think the storyline is interesting. It was one of the reasons why I was interested in playing this game. I'd seen it up at PAX East and thought it looked really interesting. The introduction, again, like I said, was very good. I thought the introduction really kind of sucks you into the game and gets you really excited to play it. And I think the atmosphere of the zero gravity and what I saw of the moon atmosphere and graphics, I thought was really cool. And I think they did a really good job with that. I liked the interactive element of things floating around and kind of knocking it out of your way. And when you take a door off the hinges, it kind of slowly either floats away in front of you or towards you and away from you and stuff like that. So I think they just did a really good job with the whole space aspect of the game. But I'm not going to give it a rating because, like I said, I didn't get as far into it. But I think it is a good game. Other than that one point I'm stuck at. So hopefully I'm going to get past that and continue and finish the game because I want to get to the end of it. So that's my final comments on that game. So do we want to talk about what's coming up for next week's podcast?
Next week's podcast is a game called Arena. Now, that usually wouldn't make someone go, ooh. But it's the fact that this developer, went through the hassle of making it all hand painted.
Yeah, they used acrylic paints to paint the characters. So I'll have to ask how they kind of did that. And
it makes a very unique look to it.
Yes, very, very unique.
And it looks pretty fun. We are currently playing the game right now as we speak, or as you listen, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually a lot more to it than meets the eye.
And the developer reached out to us on Twitter. So we, of course, responded back, followed back with them, and followed them. They're following us. And again, it's one of those things where they, we really want to work with the indie developers. Whatever game you're developing, we'd love to try out your game. We'd love to play it, talk about it on our podcast. And I mean, I think that's part of the fun of doing this podcast is meeting a lot of these indie developers and seeing what kind of games they have.
What impresses me more than a AAA going really high up in quality is an indie game developer going really high in quality, because that takes a lot more hard work and a lot more sportsmanship than AAA developers have, because they have money beyond the wazoo. So they can, if they really wanted to, they could just spit out games.
Mm-hmm.
But any developers with their work, they need to put in their passion, their time, their blood, their money, and make it theirs.
Right.
And that's always a good thing for us to look at these developers, play their games. Because who knows? Maybe there's a hidden gem.
Yeah.
That might blow up someday.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the reasons we started doing this, is because we wanted to find hopefully some hidden gems that people will hopefully download and play, and hopefully some of the games that we've talked about in these past going on 10 weeks now, hopefully some of the games that we've talked about are games that have kind of piqued your interest, and maybe you've downloaded some of them, maybe you've played some of them prior to us talking about them, maybe you haven't, maybe you've started playing them since we've talked about them. So
I'm still playing Ready, Set, Go, if anyone's wondering.
Yeah, my wife downloaded it on her phone too now, so she's hooked. That's all I've got this week. So we'll get to Arena.
We'll talk about Arena next week. We'll see you then on the battlefield.
Yes. Yes, hopefully we'll survive the battlefield. We'll see.
Yeah. All right, this has been Indestructible Gaming with me, Mr. K, and Musketshot. And we'll see you, or you'll hear us next week.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Peace.
Bye.
Game over.
Hey, it's Mr. K here. I just want to let you know that you can follow us and like us on Facebook and Twitter. By the way, you can also download this podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and TuneIn Radio. All right, folks. Have an awesome day. See ya.